I talked to you earlier about the courting and the young love, so let's look at the brief history of this wonderful relationship. In 2005, Multicultural New Zealand made an initial contact with New Zealand Police through Deputy Commissioner Wally Homaha. In 2009, the relationship with New Zealand Police was formalised through the first Memorandum of Understanding, and then it was updated in 2016. And that brings us to this year, to today. The current Memorandum of Understanding is in version 3, with an enhanced scope for collaboration and joint projects in a post-15 March 2019 social environment, and to further operationalise and collaborate at a regional level. In essence, police and Multicultural New Zealand can now effect engagement, prevention and delivery with our diverse communities throughout New Zealand with our regional networks. So now I want to highlight some of the key parts of this relationship between MNZ and police. Again, it's a long list, but there's a reason for it. A collaboration on the Race Unity Speech Awards that give voice to youth on matters that are important to them. Advice and coordination on police recruitment campaigns that have seen the police become a more diverse organisation with uniform considerations, such as the turban and hijab now incorporated. Advocacy for police liaison officer appointments. That's resulted in a closer connection between police and diverse communities. Recognising outstanding community volunteer service through the MNZ Distinguished Services Award. Community response to significant tragedies such as the Canterbury earthquakes and 15 March 2019 terrorist attacks, where Multicultural New Zealand activated their networks across the country to support communities through fundraising, service provision, and to ensure unity and solidarity. Participation by members in community patrols to work with police to keep communities safe. Providing insight, reassurance, and communication to communities where specific crime issues have affected them, such as bag snatchings and small business crime. Strategic advice to police as part of the Commissioner's National Forum and Regional Advisory Boards to ensure the voice and views of communities are included in policy decision making. Advice to guide police service delivery, including the New Zealand, Māori, Pacific and ethnic strategies. Education workshops to communities on the role of police and the laws of New Zealand, including family violence, road safety, rights and responsibilities. Resource development with police on initiatives such as the Reference Guide to Religious Diversity, Multicultural website and phrase book, and multilingual crime prevention publications. Training police on how to appropriately understand and engage with diverse communities. Settlement support programs that build trust and confidence between diverse communities and police through sport, cultural festivals, observance of religious celebrations, visits to places of worship and police venues such as police stations and the police college. Initiatives that support inter-community understanding, such as through the Huarahiho program to utility-based multiculturalism, through Noho Marae and understanding local history. Interpreting and translation services and assistance to police. Support to police when international conflicts and tragedies have impacted communities here in New Zealand locally, such as Afghanistan, Myanmar and Ukraine, and by bringing communities together to kōrero, to sow unity and not create division within our communities. Collaboration on programs that aim to prevent and address crime and victimisation in an alternative manner, such as the Gandhi Nevas Police Safety Order Program and Te Paioranga Program to address primary offending holistically. Guiding and partnering on initiatives to address the recommendations of the Royal Commission of Inquiry into the 15 March 2019 terrorist attack, such as hate crime. The pandemic response by supporting service delivery and communication to communities with English as a second language, and those with a limited access and knowledge to local services, including former refugees, new migrants, international students, migrant and seasonal workers. And providing assistance, access and connection to a diverse range of a national network to consult and ensure the pulse of the community is beating within New Zealand Police. Yes, so another very long list, but there's a good reason for that, and that's why you're all here today. This is testament to the partnership. It's testament to the demonstration that a signed piece of paper has meaning, it has soul, it has heart, and it keeps Aotearoa's diverse, multicultural communities at the very front and centre. It's my absolute pleasure to stop talking now and invite other invited guests to speak. It's my pleasure to welcome to the stage someone who knows heart and soul and exactly how to put people first. I welcome Multicultural New Zealand's patron, Mark Solomon.
E kore e taia te whenu kutahi ki te rārangi i te whāriki. Kia mohi o ai tātou ki a tātou. Ma te mahitahi o ngā whenu, ma te mahitahi o ngā kairaranga, a ka oti tēnei whāriki. I te otinga, ha tano wā, me te tiro tātou ki ngā me pai ka puta mai, me te tiro hoki ki ngā rarangi mākere, nā te mea he korero ana kei reira. The tapestry of understanding is not woven from a single strand. It takes the coming together of many strands and many weavers to bring it into fruition. When it is completed after some time, let us look at the tapestry to see the good that comes from it. But also let us look at the drop stitches because they also have a story to tell. I'm very proud to be here today in front of you all over this signing of this Memorandum of Understanding between Multicultural New Zealand and the police. It's a document that's encapsulated within Te Tiriti o Waitangi, but it's also, and more importantly, it's a document that's encapsulated within these values. And these values, no matter how you look at them, are a simple recipe of how we show respect to each other and how we can walk together. So I see this Memorandum of Understanding as being a relationship between us with the police. And I say us collectively, because if we're encapsulated with the treaty, we're encapsulated with the values, it is about us as people. Too many times, humans seem to be ruled by the rule of I. But if we would all look at the house of we can go forward together. So I congratulate Multicultural New Zealand, I congratulate the police, and I would like to pay homage at this moment to e tu whānau, and specifically to a lady who has passed, Anne Dysart, and encapsulated all of these values, and she actually was the person that got me involved in working with migrants in New Zealand. In the early 2000s there was a conference for migrants and Anne invited me. I came to it and then immediately got challenged by her, so what are you doing about the new migrants that are coming into New Zealand? What's your part in all of this? From that, I took it to heart, so I took it upon myself as the chairman of Naitahu to start welcoming all new migrants that came into Canterbury, because they are us now. This is the new New Zealand. So again, this is about us, and I again congratulate the police, Andy, and Pancha and Multicultural New Zealand for getting to this position where you're signing an MoU to work together in partnership as us. So kia ora tātou.
Thank you so much for that. Those words. A pleasure to now welcome Commissioner of Police Andy Costa to address you.
Tuia ki te rangi, tuia ki te whenua, tuia ki te nākau o ngā tangata katoa, tihei Māori ora. Tēnā rawa atu, i tō karakia. E te whare I tu nei, tēnā koe. I ngā iwi o tēnei rohe, te atiawa, taranaki whānui, Ngāti tō rangatira, kei te mihi, kei te mihi, kei te mihi. I ngā rangatira, tēnei te mihi. E mihi ana kia koutou, e hui hui mai nei. Nō reira, tēnā koutou. Namaste, ni hao, assalamu alaikum, talofa lava, maro lele, kia ora ana, and warm welcome to all of you on behalf of New Zealand Police. It's awesome to be here for this refreshed stage of the relationship between police and multicultural New Zealand. I extend my greetings to the many dignitaries and representatives that we have here today. I'd particularly like to acknowledge the President of Multicultural New Zealand, Pancha Narayanan, and Patron Tarmac Solomon. Thank you for your fantastic words, Tarmac. Pancha is the current wing patron of a group of recruits at the Royal New Zealand Police College, some of whom are here to represent that group this morning. I thank you most sincerely, Pancha, for your efforts and your ongoing contribution in terms of those newest members of New Zealand Police, and indeed in terms of the important partnership between our organisations. We're very fortunate to have a number of wing patrons here today, Tarmac being one, Sir Anand, Dame Winnie, Sir David, and Ranjana. It's wonderful to have you here with us today. Thank you for your contributions. I also acknowledge the symbolism of this venue, the National Library of New Zealand, which aims to connect the people to the collective knowledge of our nation. Housed above us is the He Toru exhibition, which includes the Declaration of Independence of the United Tribes of New Zealand, Te Tiriti o Waitangi, and the 1893 Women's Suffrage Petition. These three key documents have helped shape the basis of our nation, and the exhibition hopes to encourage discussion about how they will influence New Zealand's future. The Memorandum of Understanding that we are re-signing here today also looks to the future, where we work together to meet our aspirations. In essence, your aspiration for a Te Tiriti-based multicultural society sits firmly within New Zealand Police's aspiration for everyone to be safe and feel safe. It also fits alongside our police values, particularly respect, commitment to Māori in the treaty, and valuing diversity. Community and partner relationships are absolutely essential for New Zealand Police's effectiveness and to put prevention front and centre in everything that we do. This is reflected in Police's three key priorities. Number one is be first, then do. This is about being inclusive and diverse as an organisation that brings humanity to every interaction. Our people are key to making sure that we deliver what we promise to our communities in the way we police. The second priority, delivering the services New Zealanders expect and deserve. This is about police understanding and providing the policing that New Zealanders want from their police. Communities and people must have a voice in the way policing is delivered and the outcomes that we achieve, which is why we so value the input of organisations such as Multicultural New Zealand. The third priority, focus prevention through partnerships. We all know that society is dealing with complex problems, never more so than now, and police can't solve these problems alone. This priority is about focusing our police effort and working with others to achieve better outcomes. Later this month, police will begin recognising the brave actions of many people involved in responding to the terrible tragedy that played out on the 15th of March 2019. If anything can show how important it is for police to have strong relationships with our diverse communities, then that was it. When Police's MPS staff called their networks, including Multicultural New Zealand, the response was immediate and far-reaching, and we remain incredibly grateful for the support we received at that time. That support did not miraculously materialise overnight. As you've heard through your regional multicultural networks, about the time, energy and initiatives that police have invested with communities to build those relationships, which have matured into partnerships, which then foster that mutual trust and confidence. Your network has been diligently working at the grassroots across New Zealand, building cohesive and connected communities through your activities. For that, we are truly thankful. The long-standing partnership between Multicultural New Zealand and New Zealand Police demonstrates what effective policing can look like and how partnerships can contribute to our goals of safe homes, safe roads and safe communities. I'd like to take this opportunity to personally thank all the Multicultural New Zealand regional councils, community members and volunteers for your commitment and hard work to ensuring that we can be the safest country. Therefore, Police is very pleased to sign this Memorandum of Understanding here today, just as we have in past years since the MoU was first signed in 2009. In closing, I'm reminded of the police whakatauki, which we were gifted by Dr. Apidana Mahuika. E tū ki te kei o te waka, kia Pākehā koe, ina naru o te wā. Stand at the stern of the waka and feel the spray of the future biting at your face. We know we do not stand alone in the waka, that together we are stronger, more resilient and indeed more effective. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou.
New Zealand. When we first started his work at Multicultural New Zealand about 3 decades ago, he's still as youthful as ever. So I'd like to welcome to the stage, with a very dashing bow tie this morning, I'd like to welcome to the stage President Pancha Narayanan.
Kororia ki te atua e runga rawa, e mongarongo ki te mata o te whenua, whakaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa. E te korowai o te kaihanga, e te korowai o te rangi marie, kua horaina mai i runga i a tātou. E ngā mana whenua o tēnei rohe, te ati awa, te mihi. E ngā tangata whenua, ngā tiponuki, tēnei te mihi. E ngā tangata whenua, tēnei te mihi. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. And in the language of the land that I come from, Malaysia, apa khabar? What's news? I like to echo what Arun acknowledged at the beginning. Such a privilege to be here and to be able to welcome dames, sirs, and all the members of the diplomatic corps, our patron, dignitaries, mayors, and all the special guests. And I do this on behalf of all the great community leaders from around the country who work tirelessly in their communities. So welcome. And thank you for taking this time on a busy weekend, some flying from various parts of the country, from Invercargill all the way from Whangarei to Wellington to be here today. I'd like to also take this opportunity to acknowledge the Police Commissioner, Andy Costa, and his police officers who are here, and for doing a sterling job as a police service in keeping New Zealand safe. A huge thank you to all the community leaders. If I can take the privilege for a moment to get all the presidents of the regional councils and members of Multicultural Council connected to stand up for a second, please. And it is because of your hard work that we are here where we are today. And finally, the MNZ executive team, Pancha, Maria Bolden, who worked with me. Thank you for taking time to be here. We, as Multicultural New Zealand, have 2 MoUs. One with the Ministry of Social Development and the other with the police. These are very special relationships to us. It grows us, it makes us makes us want to be a high integrity organization, right? And we stand up. And we are not here with the police as a community of informers. We are not. We challenge, we speak. We are so grateful, we are so proud, we are so privileged that we have that voice at that table. Andy, I acknowledge the courage. We don't expect you to agree, but we like the way you hear. Thank you so much. The journey, as Arun was saying, started some time ago. And there was a need at that time. Demographics was changing. We had to do something to get police to understand the different cultures that are coming into the country. I reached out to Wally Hamaha, superintendent at that time for Maori Pacific and Ethnic Services. Today we are so privileged that he's the deputy commissioner with warrant at New Zealand Police. And he came to our meeting, and what he saw there was a community of people wanting to connect. And I thank him for creating the path, and I thank you, Andy, for making sure that the path is safe. People ask us, when we talk about Horahi Ho, they ask us, what do you mean? And I often see who are the people who ask me what it means, and they are often people who only speak one language. I could sing a song of what Horahi Ho is. I won't be able to explain it in English. And we say, in the past, the parts in New Zealand were made with machete, they were made with guns, they were made with alcohol, they were made with blankets. What we want to do is to make it with mana, manaki, aroha, and the values of Etufana. What you see here today is happening. That pathway is happening. Sometimes it is better to do it than to talk about it, and that's what we are. And sometimes we need a space where we can talk about it as well. And the long list of activities, I am so humbled that the police have captured the activities. Sometimes the leaders from around the country, they do all the mahi, but we do not have the time to speak, right? But to record it and to value it gives us mana. Thank you so much. But I want to talk about a few key milestones, and I want to speak it from the heart. If I am inappropriate in any way, my advance apologies. I don't think it would be. 15th of March, 2019. The first people who were there were the first responders, police. Be first, then do. That's divisional police. They were there. But as multicultural communities, we wanted to know how is that we can be supportive. What this MOU gave us was the opportunity to pick up the phone and call the head honcho and say, what can we do? And Wally said, hey, the community, the Muslim community, their ethos is to bury the people who have died within 24 hours, right? And the communities are making a lot of sound bites, right? Can you help? We want to get this right, right? And the message went out, and these kind of messages go out to nearly 750,000 people. Some listen, many listen, some don't. But what was the result? Not one of those dead people was sent to the wrong place. That is spectacular, right? And it's perhaps the first time in the world that you do this. And that's because of the patience of the community, the working of the community, and the patience of the Muslim community. COVID-19. As early as April 2020, we said masks was a necessity. The Ministry of Health at our meeting said, oh, there are pros and cons about masks. Some of you were there, right? But our people were listening to families from around non-traditional sources, non-European sources. They were listening and they said, masks. Look at the reality what we had. We had masks. And the people who took it to the top table, to the Prime Minister's table, were the police. Because we voiced it up there too. So I say thank you to that. And then the Newland Mall attack. Primetime television, the Prime Minister comes up and she says that there's been a terrorist attack. We looked at the facts, we looked at what we knew, what was in the media, and then we said what the police had done, the way they had manage the situation was absolutely appropriate. But we were not sure whether the individual this deranged individual was a terrorist. We asked that question, we're still not sure, but we asked the question. But we could voice that out at that table. The recent protests in Parliament. The opposition was saying that the police was soft. We wrote to the Prime Minister. We said to the Prime Minister, you need to talk to the protesters. We said to the Prime Minister that we do not support the occupation, but you need to talk to the protesters, and we want it to be safe. And we said, we support the careful restraint of the police. And we said to the police, kia kaha. And today, two things are a reality from our side. One, I think it is internationally an exemplar of how the police had handled the situation. Second, we feel that the strategy that was used made us bigger people. Yes, there are millions of dollars lost, but to learn something as a nation, I think that grudgingly I will admit it is money well spent. And finally, the reason ram raids. The communities were crying that there was a lot of criminal activity, right? Multicultural New Zealand, our view was yes, it needs to be addressed, there needs to be, crime needs to be addressed. But we also said that the issues behind it, the social issues behind it need to be heard. It needs to be dealt with. The various ministries had to work together to come together. It cannot be just the police. It was about justice, it was about corrections, it was also about the Ministry of Social Services and other ministries as well. We voice out at the table and they hear. We object to certain strategies, the armed response team. They hear. And this is what true partnership is. We talk about true partnership in government, but we have made the pathway. This pathway is happening, and I think that it is blossoming, and we are seeing it. And to that, I'd like to say thank you, Andy, to you and your police services. Finally, I'd like to again say thank you to all the work that the police do. I'd like to say thank you to Superintendent Rakesh Naidu for his connection in the community and his team. I'd like to say thank you to Wally and his people. And it's important that Wally, he apologized for not being here. And I said to him, why? And he said, my daughter has been selected for the Black Sticks. And I said, it's more important than this. So a proud father, so privileged to be in the midst of such inspiring people. And to my own whānau of multicultural councils around the country for your tireless and relentless work. You spring up. It sometimes becomes a second job, right? And the digital environment, we were supported to create a digital environment, and that hasn't helped, that has just increased time. So well done. And finally, if there's one thing that I would like you to take away from this gathering, is that relationships, honest, high integrity relationships between government and community groups work, right? And this is exemplary of that. And this morning, I asked Prem Saab, have you got the ring? And the wisdom of this gentleman said, hey, I thought it was a civil union. It's not a ring. So, with that, I am pleased and privileged to sign the MoU for the third time with you, Andy. And thank you. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.